Baseball has always been more than a game. It's a classroom, a proving ground, a place where character is tested, resilience is forged, and champions are built. Join Coach Chuck, Coach Bucket, and Coach Matt as they share decades of experience, practical wisdom, and conversations that reach far beyond the diamond. Because we're not just developing better athletes, we're building better people, one family, one coach, one player, one community at a time. This is Champions, Not Captives.
All right. Well, welcome to Champions, Not Captives. I'm Coach Chuck Barnard, and I am grateful you are here joining us for our very first episode. This show is for parents, coaches, athletes, grandparents, and anyone who believes that sports should develop more than athletic ability. Between the three of us on this show, we bring more than 150 combined years of experience in baseball, coaching, teaching, mentoring, parenting, and leadership. And along the way, we have watched sports build confidence, resilience, discipline, relationships, and character. We've also watched young people lose their joy beneath the weight of pressure, adult expectations, rankings, exposure, and a culture that can sometimes target why youth sports exist in the first place as we forget that mission. We believe baseball is one of life's greatest classrooms. The game is the classroom. Life is the curriculum. Our mission is to build better athletes, better people, better communities. And because we believe we are called to raise champions, not captives. Stay with us, and we'll be right back after a short break.
Every great athlete has one thing in common: a mindset built for winning. Are you ready to become that champion? Introducing the Athletic Mastery Accelerator, a 2-day high-impact event designed for high school athletes. Day one is all about mindset transformation, unlocking your full potential, confidence, and resilience. Parents, you're invited too, because when you experience this alongside your child, the power of synergy takes over. The results can be profound. Day two, it's game time. Elite, sport-specific coaching to sharpen your skills, improve your strength, and elevate your entire game. You can begin to apply what you learned in day one, because mindset plus skill equals unstoppable success. This isn't just another camp. Champions are made here. Spots are limited. Register today or book a discovery call to bring the Athletic Mastery Accelerator to your school or community.
Welcome back. And today's first episode is about why the show exists, why we believe youth sports need to reset, and what we mean when we say champions, not captives. Before we begin, let me introduce you to the two coaches who are going to be joining me throughout this first season. Coach Paul Bucket Benzer has spent more than 5 decades coaching baseball and investing in the lives of players, coaches, and families. He's the author of The Ride Home, a book that reminds us that some of the most important moments in youth sports happen after the final out. Coach Matt Rogers has coached for 32 years. He's the current hitting coach and assistant at Bowdoin College and the author of The Recipe to Be a Great Coach. Matt has worked with players at many levels of the game, and he believes the best coaches do far more than teach skills. They build trust, develop leaders, and prepare young people for life. Gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of Champions, Not Captives. So why don't you give us any words of wisdom you have to start out the show?
I'll start, Chuck. I just want to say thank you for being here. I'm honored to be with the two of you, both coaching legends and great human beings, and I know that we all share similar philosophies. So it's my honor to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you. Yeah, Chuck, same thing. It's a pleasure. I've been working with you for a while, and we're building some momentum here. You know, my personal goal for being on this show or episode or podcast is that we can get the message to people and make a difference because we're not raising MLB players. That's not going to happen. 750 guys in Major League Baseball, 30 million playing in the world. We're raising young men through the great game of baseball. And it doesn't mean they can't play at the big leagues level. But let's keep in mind, you're not going to compete in the world today without a formal education. It's not going to happen. You can go to Starbucks, you go to McDonald's, and that's about it without a formal education. So I'm hoping that somebody listens, and I hope that we get some feedback, and I hope that we can help people build great young men through the great game of baseball.
I think we all agree with those sentiments. And over the years, I've had multiple conversations with the two of you, and Matt and Coach Bucket have just kind of met, and already we've had some good conversations on the game. But it goes beyond the game, and the conversations have covered the roles of players, parents, and coaches. And we've seen what youth sports can do at its best, but we've also seen what it happens when adults lose sight of the original purpose. And that's kind of what we want to talk about today. So, from your perspective, I'm going to begin with you, Matt. And what do you think young athletes are losing when development becomes secondary to rankings, exposure, and winning?
That's a great question. I think there's a lot of things that are lost, but if you want me to prioritize, I think first and foremost, which is one of the most important things about sports, is the fun is lost. Some parents and some coaches, not all, but some parents and some coaches lose sight of the most important thing, which is when we play a game, any game, it should be fun. If you make it fun, they keep coming back. The more they come back, the more you can teach them. But if the fun is lost, the athlete won't want to play anymore. And it's a real missed opportunity. And the missed opportunity is that opportunity for the kid to learn some great life lessons and to make some great friends. And the coaches are missing an opportunity to have an positive impact on their lives. So I would say fun is lost, and that's a real tragedy.
Bucket, you've been around the game for more than 50 years, so you've seen a lot of things change over the years. What would you say has changed the most, and what do you believe adults need to understand before we can correct it?
Great question. And, Matt hit on a couple things, but I'll tell you what's missing, in my opinion, is the parents are not teaching a young child commitment. What is a commitment? Because when you make a commitment, there's time involved and there's effort involved. Because forget baseball, you're going to be making commitments to your girlfriend, you're going to make commitments to your wife, you're going to make commitments to your college. And if you don't understand what a commitment is, that you signed up for this program, unless there's something that's unethical, you are going to follow your commitment. And that's got to be taught, these 8, 9, and 10-year-old thug, and I use the word thug, travel ball teams just run around the country with such disrespect for the game. And it's because they're not teaching the kids the commitment and that, the work ethic and how to be, a team that shows up and leaves the place better than they found it. Because I've watched this absolute disgusting teams leave ballparks and there's no commitment to the effort of excellence, and we do everything with a purpose.
The three of us have talked a lot about what baseball is not the only sport. I know I've coached multiple sports. Matt has. We've all been involved and seen and encourage athletes to do more than one sport. But baseball, there's something special about baseball in the lessons it can teach. And I said in my intro that, baseball is the classroom, right? And there are so many applicable lessons. I strongly encourage, it's not just that I love the game, but parents that young ages to give their kids a chance to experience the game for a lot of reasons. But I'll start with you, Coach Bucket. What do you, or why do you think some of those lessons of baseball are unique to baseball and so valuable for young development of not just athletes but the person itself?
Well, things have changed. I mean, today they just throw a cell phone in their face and the kids learn on their own by whatever they're Googling. They're not being raised the way I was raised. And I'm not saying I was raised the right way, but I was taught commitment, discipline, work ethic, say what you do what you say. And that has to be taught. Because if you're not taught that, you're never going to be able to do, what I always lean on is the 6-tool player. That's the eye test. The other 5 tools are all measurable, but when you do the eye test and the work ethic and the behavior and the emotion with the game of failure is not structured to be able to handle it, then we have these meltdowns, kids are crying. It's not fun. Like Matt said, it has to be fun until it becomes a business. And that's usually, late into your senior year, getting ready to go to college. Then it really becomes a business because there's decisions to be made. But the preparation has to be done in the home at the youngest age. You're signing up for a game of failure. So here's how you deal with it mentally.
Matt, you want to add anything to that?
That's a perfect segue because when you asked the question, the first thing I thought is they say baseball is a sport of failure. You're going to face adversity. If you play the game long enough, you're going to face adversity. There have been countless studies done. I believe Stanford does them, if not annually, very frequently, of all the things you do in all the sports, whether it's throwing a spiral, catching a football, hitting a golf ball, etc. The hardest thing to do is hit a pitched baseball. So it's a challenge, and you're going to face adversity. So it's a great metaphor for life because we're going to face adversity in life. So if we can use all of the experiences in baseball, regardless of the position, whether you're a pitcher or a hitter, in any position you play, there are opportunities there to teach kids life lessons, how to deal with adversity. And like Coach Bucket said, I used to use an acronym even when I coached T-ball players. Literally 4 years old, I started to instill them because coaching's like parenting. The more you reinforce these things and instill these things in kids, the more it becomes habitual. But the acronym was ROOTS: respect for rules, officials, opponents, teammates, self. And baseball's a great classroom, a great platform to teach life lessons because you're going to deal with adversity, you're going to deal with failure. Then you can get into a lot of things. How do you define failure? How do you deal with adversity? But it's a great sport to teach all of those things.
Things too that I've thought a lot about with baseball, because I've seen in sports like soccer and basketball and all that there are kids who don't want to take that shot, right? So they're out on the court or out on the field, and the moment comes when somebody passes them the ball, and they don't want to be the one who misses. So what do? They can pass the ball away again. Well, in baseball, when you enter that batter's box in that big moment, there's nobody past it. Like you can't pass the baton. Like it's on you. And that ability to learn how to deal with pressure and the failure that will come more often than not with that situation, it's unlike any other sport. To teach kids to be able to face those moments where there's no, you can't hide. There's no hiding, right? And it's a wonderful ability to do that.
In the minor leagues, we had a little dinky toilet that we put in the dugout, and we had the 5-minute flush rule. So you just struck out with the bases loaded, or you were at shortstop and you made an error. When you came in the dugout, you went to that little toilet and you flushed that memory, and you had 5 minutes to get bitter, and then you had to start getting better. So what am I gonna? I'm gonna dump this, and I'm gonna start doing this, and it has to be taught because this was done with guys who are making millions of dollars, and they bought into the process. Let alone an 8-year-old who walks down the end of the dugout and just starts crying. Coach doesn't care. He's chasing a $20 trophy. He's got to get that trophy. That's his motivation for coaching his son's team. He could care less about their behavior. And I'm not making this up because I've witnessed it my whole life, and that's why I wrote a book. It was killing me. And that is like Matt was saying, that was a life learning lesson right there. Get out of first base dugout or a batter's coaching box and get in the dugout and give that kid a hug. Forget about the $20 trophy. Everybody has one.
But the other thing I think that gets underappreciated by many parents and all is the athletic skill development that baseball teaches. I have seen a number of kids who, by getting that core foundation of running, throwing, swinging, the eye-hand coordination, those skills transfer to multiple other sports, but it doesn't always work the other way around, in my opinion. Like I good, talented athletes who develop those baseball skills become very good athletes in other sports. And I haven't always seen it work the other way around. I've seen young basketball players develop some really good skills in basketball or soccer who they don't transfer to baseball, but it did the other way around. Do you guys want to comment on that at all?
It gets back to what I said, Chuck. It's the hitting a pitch baseball is the hardest thing to do. It is. It's hand-eye coordination is one thing, but hitting and the other challenge with baseball is you can do everything right. You can have a great mental mindset. You can step in the box. You can study the pitcher. You can have an approach, and you can square up the ball and smack it and have 110 exit velo, and it ends up in somebody's glove, and you're 0 for 1. And some would say that's a failure. It's not. That's success. So it gets back to a deeper conversation. How do you define success and failure? And I have my philosophies. And like Coach Bucket, having coached multiple sports at multiple levels, male and female, for 32 years, I was writing my book in my head for 25 years. And a dear friend of mine finally said, you got to get it out because you got a message that you need to send. So I actually just did it as a blueprint, as a handbook, a guidebook for parents, athletes, coaches to try to make the experience better for kids at all levels. But Chuck, to your point, hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do. You do have to be a good athlete to play baseball. With all due respect, you don't have to be a great athlete to play golf. It's mechanic. I know plenty of nerds, plenty of people that aren't good athletes who would kick my tail in golf. But if I throw them a baseball, they couldn't hit it. Or if I throw them a football, it'd hit them in the nose. So it doesn't always translate. But and to our point earlier about playing multiple sports, I always tell parents, I'll be working with 3 high school kids later this morning. I always tell them play multiple sports, because when you play another sport, you become a better baseball player. And if you play baseball, I think you become a better human being. That's a big difference, because the ones that continue to play this game have high character because they're dealing with adversity. They're learning how to overcome adversity.
Thank you. You have anything to add?
Yeah. That was awesome. But so I'll talk a little bit about the takeaway from baseball. And I'll use my son who I coached hands off, and then he went on to college to play. But when he quit his junior year and he started working as an entrepreneur, and he was a mortgage broker for a while, and I'll never forget the day his boss called me up and said, your son just spoke in front of 15 seasoned mortgage brokers. And it was a beautiful presentation. And I asked him, where did you learn this? And he said, through the game of baseball, I learned to have my shoes clean. I learned to have my belt centered. I learned to wear my hat right, even though I'm not wearing a hat. I learned to be on time, and I learned how to be a teammate. And that's why I'm going to be a good entrepreneur. Well, today he owns 6 coffee shops throughout San Francisco. He's an entrepreneur, and he's peeled all that back as he's grown. But to say that, learning that through the great game of baseball.
Brad, and that, for the last kind of segment of this, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the name of the show, Champions Not Captives. And we aren't just talking about producing people who win athletic championships. We're talking about champions of the game of life. We're talking about people who can survive and thrive in any kind of environment, people who will stick to it and persevere, that mindset of a champion. And the captain's part, I'll let each of you kind of talk a little bit from coaching perspective and parents as well. But it's the idea is that so many of us become captives to our thinking. We become captives to limiting beliefs. We become captives to the pressures, the expectations. And when you are captive to those thoughts and those thinking, you can't perform as well. You can't, you bring in extra stress. You just don't do as well in life when you let those things rule you. So that's where part of that comes from. So, Coach Matt, does coaching environment, what does that look like when you are trying to develop champions, right? So when you are really trying to teach what that means, what does that look like, that culture of a champion team, champion winning mindset?
It's multifaceted. So starting by when you say you're trying to build champions, I think you have to define what a champion is. In my opinion, it's not just the team that wins the title. Obviously, in some respects it is, but if you have individually, you're coaching people, not players. That's one step. We have to remember as coaches, we're coaching human beings. They're not widgets. They're not chess pieces we're moving around. We're coaching human beings. So we're trying to make them the best they can be. If Dustin Pedroia and Aaron Judge are built differently, right? So Dustin Pedroia shouldn't try to be Aaron Judge and vice versa. We want them all to be the best version of themselves on and off the field. So I feel like as coaches, if we can do that, if we can get each person that we're coaching to be their best, we won. Now, hopefully we'll win every game, but we probably won't. But I think it depends on how you define that. The second part is make sure you're selfless as a coach. Make it about the players, the human beings you're coaching, not about me. Like Coach Bucket said, there are far too many coaches at every level that make it about them, and they don't care about the little leaguer or the minor leaguer that just made the mistake and they're over at the end, whether they're crying or they're flushing the toilet. Let them know, again, like a parent, make sure your players know that you love them and you're proud of them for who they are, and the controllable things. Control the controllables. If they're giving their maximum effort and they're putting everything in and they're doing all they can do, and they get up there and they square that ball up, or even if they get beaten on a great pitch on the corner, you did all you could do. Move on. That's what life's about. That's what baseball is about. But more importantly, that's what life is about. So as a coach, if you can create that culture where individually you're trying to be the best you can be and control the controllables, do all you can do, then collectively, if you're doing that, you're going to be successful in life. And I think you'll be successful in baseball or any sport that you're coaching.
Right. Great. Well said. I'm pretty much similar to that, but I believe that it has to be set up at the very beginning. as the coach with the parents, everybody involved. This is my philosophy. This is how I do things, and be able to facilitate questions before you start. Okay. And one of the things that when I look at a winning program, and I'll use a group of 12-year-olds here in Florida, that they meet on Sundays and they do things of service for the community. They do it with a team. So the coach is teaching them to pay it forward, to be of service. It has nothing to do with baseball. Okay. But that takes a special person to create that kind of environment. What they do after the game is they go to home plate and they invite the other team to just bless the game. It doesn't matter what God you pick or who it is. It's not a religious thing. It's just a respect that we got to play this game together. And if you want to join us, that sends a different message to the other team that this is okay. This is what winning is. I use the word win all the time because the word win stands for what's important now. So if you're always focused on what's important now, you're always a winner. So, for example, what's important now is I got to do my homework, then I got to get to the gym, and I got to get my reps in. I don't need to be on my cell phone texting my girlfriend. That's not what's important now. So if you think about what's important now, and you keep chipping away at that, you're going to have a built-in process of being as a champion, a winner, regardless of the scoreboard. Could care less of it. I have no control of the scoreboard. Just like Matt said, we track quality at bats. You went up there, you worked the count, you put the best hack on it you've ever have, all the numbers related. You did a 6-5 with first base, and a guy caught the ball. That's a right-hand turn, and that's an attaboy, and that's what we call a quality at bat. Doesn't show up in the newspaper, but it shows up in your self-esteem.
That's how we make our lineup, coach, at the college level. We track quality at bats. We track walks and hit by pitch over strikeouts. We want that. It's very simple. We want them to put the ball in play and hit the ball hard. And we might have a guy starting in our lineup that's batting .210, but his quality at bats are among the leaders, and our players know that. To your point, we communicate up front. That's how those are metrics we're looking at.
Yeah, because those things will go through eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of wrap this show up. I'm going to ask each of you for a fairly short, quick answer. I'll start with you, Coach Bucket. What would be one thing you would tell parents to change or to do on that car ride home?
Keep it positive, regardless of the performance. Because just keep it positive. Play the 24-hour rule. Wait for the next day, and then ask the question, what can we do different? I noticed you struck out. What were you thinking? And get the information from him the next day. Don't tell him what he did. Ask him what he did. And then what's he need? What can I do as dad to help improve the issues you had at yesterday's game? But do not, and I'm not saying you sugarcoat it in the car ride. I'm just saying, hey, great job, Johnny. I really appreciate your effort. Let's go get a hamburger. Period. Wait till the next day. The poor guy knows he failed. I don't know a kid in this country that wants to fail in front of his parents. So give him some time and ask him what we can do together to fix it.
Thank you. And Coach Matt, what would be one thing you would want these young youth coaches to change or to do?
I hadn't planned this, but Coach Bucket said the word positive, keep it positive. So I'm going to stay with the theme of the P's. Okay. Positive. I already talked about coaching people, not players. And the other one, P, is perspective. Maintain perspective. Coach Bucket mentioned earlier, a 12-year-old team that they do community service. My son, when he was 12, we came from a little town. We went one game from going to Williamsport, and it wasn't because we were a great team. But before we played, even in our district, the first game we played, before we did anything, we went to the children's hospital. Mm-hmm. One, because it was the right thing to do, but it also put constant perspective in our kids' minds. And we went back to that in times where we thought we were under pressure. We were never under pressure. Even when we were playing on ESPN, we were never under pressure. The kids hooked up to IVs, battling, fighting for their lives, are under pressure. So the P's, Coach Bucket said, positive. I'll say, make it about people, not players. I'll say, have perspective. And the parting shot to coaches, whether you like it or not, whether you coach for a year, 10, 30, or 50, you're going to end up in one of three categories. Players are either going to forget who you were, which is sad. They're going to say, oh, Coach Matt, he's why I quit the game. That would be a tragedy. The one that we're all striving for is the one where they say, they perk up and they go, oh, Coach, he made it so fun and blah, 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 to the point where they're going to go out of their way when they see you at some point later in life and cross a busy street and come up and go, Coach, and give you a hug, and you're going to hug them right back. So you're going to fall, like it or not, you're going to fall into one of those three categories. Which one do you want to be in? You're writing your own eulogy. You're creating your own legacy.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said.
You know, there's some very simple things that parents can do. And when they give feedback, because a lot of times we see a child struggling and we want to fix things. One of the best things we can do is ask questions about their process and reward the effort and reward, oh, I love the way you got right back up there after that strikeout. I love the way you hustled out in the field after that. When you start rewarding those little things that aren't performance based, that weren't outcome based, that reinforces everything, and it shifts their mindset. You interrupt that potential pattern of self-defeatism that could come in. So I often always encourage parents to think about rewarding and emphasizing the positive process that the athlete did, right? Love the way you hustle, love the way you picked yourself up after that. I love the way you responded. I love the way you congratulated your teammates. Those are the things that matter most. So if you can do those things, and coaches the same way, then you are doing a world of good. Well, our time is up, gentlemen, and I thank you for joining us for this first episode, and we will continue to make some subtle improvements and all, but the message is really important. I hope you, as the audience, got something out of this and share this with other parents who have young athletes with if you're a parent coach, what have you. We can have some really good conversations, and the wisdom that we've accumulated over the years, it is important. It is valuable. We've seen a lot of young people hurt by bad coaching and helped a lot by good coaching and good parenting. And that's what we want to pass along. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next episode.